following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Perspectives. My name is David Schoeneman. I'm your host in this program, and I'm the alderman for Ward 3 here in Nashua. On Perspectives, we take a look at various issues that are of interest to Nashua residents and taxpayers on a state, local, and a national level. We do that to keep you informed and so that you are kept more fully aware of how policy decisions on all levels of government impact our day-to-day lives. Today, we're going to take a look at the Nashua business environment. And in particular, we're going to look at how a new business might need to clear hurdles to open up here in Nashua and what one might do to navigate the regulatory process. With me to talk about that today is Dean Baxter from the Millyard Brewery. Millyard Brewery is Nashua's latest entry into the world of nano brewing, and I think one of the most exciting new business ventures here in the city. Dean, welcome and thanks for coming in.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
We've got a lot of breweries here in New Hampshire, from the large mega brewery, corporate brewery like Anheuser-Busch just up the road in Merrimack, to local brew pubs, microbreweries like Martha's Exchange right here on Main Street. And then this whole new world of nano brewing, which really came into New Hampshire just a few years ago. Can you tell us what a nano brewery is and how it came about and how you decided to go into this field?
Yeah, well, look, brewing has been around a long time before Prohibition, as you know. And back then, the volume of breweries in the US was very much the same as where it is today. So, you know, since Prohibition until today, brewing has really grown up in this country. And I think small batch brewing to several thousands of barrels or gallons a year is where nano brewing is today. And I think what that does is it brings beer closer to the community. And it becomes a community venture, very much like it was a long, long time ago.
So how many barrels can a nano brewery brew compared to, let's say, the Anheuser-Busch brewery down the road?
Yeah, we're looking at about 3,000 barrels a year. So it's pretty small. It's small batch. Typically, nano breweries would be brewing a number of different styles. Really just to meet the demand of the local community.
Well, certainly beer brewing has become more and more popular. I've done some home brewing myself, and a lot of people have tried, and it's hard to get the consistency just right. But if you find something that you like and that your friends like, then it's certainly an enjoyable thing to do. Now, how did you get involved with the commercial venture of a nano brewery?
Yeah, well, interestingly, I was involved in brewing in my college days, as maybe many college folk was, but it was really through a mutual introduction through a friend that I met a young guy who's local here in southern New Hampshire, that he was interested in brewing, and I've always had aspirations to maybe move into the brewing field, but given that my college degree is based around that, so I've always had a passion for beer, be it drinking or making it, I guess, but it's a bit different when you take it into the commercial arena. You talk about consistency and quality and other good things that you've got to have in a beer in order to be able to move into the commercial world.
How many different types of beer do you expect you're going to brew, and how are you targeting your audience? I mean, there's many different preferences. I like IPAs. Other people might like a malty kind of ale. Do you have a particular preference, and are you channeling that, or are you trying to find what the market would like?
No, I think importantly, you've got to make a beer that people really like, session beers, beers that people want to drink. We've seen great interest from females in craft beers today. I think in our business alone, we're probably seeing as much or more interest from the females in the community than males. So certainly we've got to accommodate and be able to make beer to everybody's style and I think what they like in a beer. So that's what we're looking to do.
So you decided to open the brewery here in Nashua. You live in Nashua. You live in Ward 3, as a matter of fact. Glad to have you there. Why did you decide Nashua? Just because you live here, or did Nashua seem to be a good marketplace for you to move into?
Well, for a city the size of it is, and it didn't have a brewery, I guess You know, the business plan was geared around opening a business and a brewery in this town or city. Um, Obviously, once we got started, it didn't quite go to plan, but I think in the end we've come out with a very solid product, a very good quality product, and I think one that people are going to enjoy. So I think once you start a project like that, there's no turning back, right?
There's no turning back, but I've often thought, and I've seen in many experiences myself, that you have a plan set out, and you take the first step in implementing that plan, and then things can change completely. But you keep going. So you opened, or you started renting your space on Otterson Street over a year ago.
Yeah, it was probably the beginning of February last year that we started. In fact, it was December the year before that we went for a variance to really look at putting a production facility in. Really, it was an old production facility from the time before. So, you know, we had to kind of jump a few hurdles just to get it moving. But I think it was important for us to have a brewery within the community, because it's a community brewery, and you know, we don't want people to drive out of town to go to a brewery.
Right.
We'd rather have them right downtown. And I think the benefit of what we're doing is hopefully adding to the downtown and just the pubs and restaurants and what we are and what we can bring to downtown. That's what's important about it.
It is. I fully agree with that. Now, how was the Nashua business environment for you? Was it welcoming? Did you feel that it was working out for you? Since it's one of the first nano breweries in the city,
Yeah.
the city had a learning curve it had to go through too, and you probably experienced some of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, that was one of the big unknowns for us, I guess. You know, once you start a venture, you've got capital and finance behind you. You start putting things together. You know, you've got a very clear plan on how much money you're going to spend. What you never have a clear plan on is how long it might take, particularly where we've got to deal with at the federal, the state level with the Liquor Commission, and then again with the different departments here in the city. And that's, you know, that caused a little bit of anguish over time, certainly.
But you got it squared away.
Yeah, I think so. It's you know, as you said, it's been, and I think any small business in this town probably goes through the same troubles as we have, perhaps, or anguishness. So it's certainly about, you know, learning, understanding, and hopefully, you know, it's what you're doing here and in other avenues that we can all learn from each other, particularly here in the city.
So you're kind of paving the way for someone who could follow in your footsteps, either in the same industry or a different one.
Well, I think, yeah, you know, the interesting thing is, you know, we're not a restaurant. We're not a brew pub. We're a brewery. You know, we're a production, manufacturing facility, really. And you can come into our facility and taste and buy beer and take it away. And that's what was quite unique to the city, I think. You know, just what rules should we be governed under, and which departments we then need to kind of work with, and how do we need to coordinate things. So I think in every aspect of what we've done, it's been a learning experience for all.
Well, so tell us what a tasting room is. You said it's not a pub. A tasting room sounds like I can go and drink a beer. Can I go there and drink a beer? Or what is?
Yeah.
That's my kind of place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, one of the good things about breweries and nano breweries in particular is the fact that people can go in there. They can get flights and samples of the different beers. We can make lots of different styles of beers, and they can buy growlers and they can take them home of the beers that they like. So not only that, we're looking to sell our beers to the local establishments here in town, and to people that may wish to have them at home in larger volumes, let's say.
Well, I was talking with the owner of the Riverside Barbecue today, and I understand you're going to have some of your beers there potentially.
Yeah, we've spoken to Riverside. We've spoken to a number of other places in town, Nashua Gardens and a few others. But certainly, you know, we really want to focus downtown and then look into other parts of Nashua where they might want to have our beer on tap, because it's our beer, it's our community's beer. So,
Sure,
and
it's
we're
Nashua.
making it for Nashua.
Yep, that sounds great. Now, you mentioned the term growler. I know what a growler is, but some folks may not know what a growler is. What is a growler? Where'd that name come from, I wonder? But what is a growler?
Yeah, well, I guess in my part of the world, you'd call it a flagon.
Okay.
But a growler, if you go back to the early 1900s, it was actually a pail, a can that you used to put beer on, and they used to carry it around on sticks and deliver it, two growlers on either side. Today it's a little more sophisticated because of the rules and the laws and the regulations. So it's a glass bottle, holds 32 ounces. It's got all the legal information on the back of it, and then of course our brand on the front.
And so someone buys a growler full of beer. They take it home. Do they then return that bottle or throw it away? What do they do with that bottle?
Yeah, so you can take that growler home, put it in the fridge, typically drink it within 24 hours. So, it's good to have for a barbecue or something like that. Maybe grab a couple that you can try with friends. And then what you can do is you can bring it along and we'll refill it for you. So we'll give you a fresh one. So really just swap that growler back and go and try another beer.
Oh, it's a great idea. Now, the name Millyard Brewery. Here, of course, in Nashville, we have the Millyard. There's been a lot of talk about the Millyard. You're not in the Millyard. No, you're not in the Millyard, but I presume that you're identifying that brand with the Nashua Millyard.
Well, I think it's more than that, David. The whole community of New England was born 200 years ago on milling, the milling of cotton. So, as you travel around New England, it's all about the mills and the rivers, and that was the Industrial Revolution some 200 years ago. And so our brand is about the mills of New England, and the names of our beers are actually after the mills. And so, we're really headquartered here in Nashua. Our initial beers, the Nashua Pale Ale, is named after the Nashua manufacturing mill there on the west side of Main Street. And then our Jackson IPA is named, of course, on the eastern side of Main Street, which was the other mill there. Then obviously we've got Amoskeag and Boot, and there's a number of others that will come along. But as you journey down the Merrimack River, you're going to learn of these names that really have come from history, and that's what our brewery is all about.
I've heard that there are tour companies that will arrange bus tours or stopping at all the nano breweries in a particular state or part of the state.
Yep.
Is that going on here in New Hampshire? And is your company or is Millyard Brewing going to be on that tour?
Yeah, I think it's New Hampshire Granite State Tours. They do tours around the state, and they really do venture out to the seacoast area and up north. And so certainly part of what we're doing, and particularly the breweries in Derry and London Derry, and even Merrimack, with us being here now, it makes a good centre of breweries in the south end here of New Hampshire.
And so, do you expect to be part of that tour?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have people come mainly from Massachusetts that are coming up and sampling the beers of New Hampshire, and it's good for business.
Do you know if Massachusetts has a nano brewing law, nano brewery permission? I mean, we had something passed in the state a number of years ago that enabled nano brewing.
Yep.
Do you know if Massachusetts has such a thing?
Well, there's certainly a large number of nano breweries popping up in Massachusetts, and certainly, we are familiar with those that are coming into the market. So hearing of them getting closer to the border all the time. So certainly for people that are interested in craft beer and local craft beer, there's plenty of choice now throughout Massachusetts as there is in New Hampshire.
Tell us about the kinds of beers then you want to brew. You mentioned an IPA. You have spoken to me before about a porter. What are you starting with, and how are you determining the taste that folks in the area like?
Yeah, so having done kind of a degree in manufacturing technology and knowing a little bit about the process, I think it was important to us that we could make good quality beer. So we actually started brewing beer 2 years ago and have been really trying to get a good quality beer. Interestingly, we've done a number of tastings, even just of our Nashua Pale Ale, to really make that and present that amongst 18 different pale ales around the country of where and how to position that, so it's a good quality beer and one that people are really going to like. So pale ale is our first one, and then we have an IPA, an Eastern Pale Ale, which is a bit hoppier, and then we've got a Pilsner. So we've done an American Pilsner. We did try initially to do a Czech Pilsner, but it's a pretty tricky beer to make and get good quality, so we've gone down that route. And then finally we've got a very, very good mild body porter, which I really enjoy. It's a nice, evenly balanced beer, which people will like.
I understand you're going to try a barbecue sauce of some kind too. Is that in the works?
Yeah, so on the opening day, we've got a bit of porter and a bit of barbecue sauce going to be mixed together. So, I think it's important that, even as we move to our next event, which is the Bacon and Beer Festival in May that we'll be involved in, that, we can experience food here in this state along with the beer that we make.
Now, you mentioned food. Now, do you have to have food in a nano brewery or in your tasting room?
No, you don't have to. So initially we are just having tasters, so flights of tasters.
And a taster is how much?
4 ounces.
4 ounces. So I can come in, can I have as many 4-ounce glasses as I want?
You can only have as number of 4 ounces that we have on tap of the different styles that we're making at the time. So at the moment we've only got 4 styles on tap, so you can't have more than 4 at any one time.
And that's the difference really between a pub and a tasting room. You can come in, you can have 4, because you have 4 different types of beer initially,
Correct.
so you can have 4 4-ounce glasses of beer.
Correct, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
The next kind of hurdle we need to jump through is actually be able to provide food or some type of food to be able to then sell kind of 12 or 16-ounce beers. And then you get more in that kind of that brew pub type environment. But we really, and we will do that, and we will get there. But I think initially for us to get open and get operational, many people have been asking for a long time, where's our beer? So we've got that chance now.
It has been a long time coming, but I'm glad that it's heading towards the finish line here pretty soon.
Yep.
Can a nano brewery have more than one location, or are they limited to the one tasting room?
We are seeing that, breweries like, 603 opening up different manufacturing facilities as they get bigger, obviously. And certainly as you start to distribute, yes, then that's going to be, you can do that. But the nano brewery, again, is limited by the volume that it can make, at which point it can then go and pay a larger license, a microbrewery they then become. So it is all based on the volume of beer that you manufacture annually.
I see. So then, and you said it's around 2,000 or 3,000 barrels?
I think it's 3,000.
3,000 barrels a year. And a microbrewery?
Yeah, you kind of jump to the next level. All I know is how much money you pay to do that. So it's like,
I remember reading an article when the nano brewery legislation first was enacted, and it was like $200 for a license.
yeah,
And the idea was it's going to be low barrier to entry, easy to get started. It's only $200. How difficult can that be? Well, then I started looking into it, and I didn't go anywhere near down the road that you went down because I saw the hurdles were actually pretty high. And it's $200 for a license, but there's quite a bit more investment involved than just that.
yeah, multiply that by about 1,000, just about,
Yeah.
But the reality is, it is easy to get into making beer, and you can. But the point is, do you want to make a quality beer that people can enjoy, and do you want to go kind of commercial and do that? So, depending on how small you want to be and how much you want to make, I think Nashua deserves to have a nano brewery that can provide good beer to everybody here, and that's what we're looking to do.
Well, I took a tour down through your brewery with you a couple of weeks ago, and I was impressed by the facility you have there, the cleanliness, certainly, the quality of the stainless steel tank and all that. It's wonderful. And you're also using just grains. You're not using extracts at all. This is really craftsmanship beer. You're starting with good raw materials, not anything that's been processed by somebody else, but you're starting with good raw materials. And it looks like you're going to come out with a good craft beer there.
Yeah, I think it's important, although there's hops growers starting in New Hampshire now, and we're getting grain and hops from New York. There's suppliers in Massachusetts. So really, when we think about New England and just the beer community, it really is starting to grow up quite quickly.
With the nano brewery only being able to serve or sell 2,000 or 3,000 barrels of beer a year, is there room for more than one in Nashua? Would you welcome another nano brewery, or is it too small a market? Are you going to take the whole market?
I'd love to, but I think the good thing about craft brewing and with even Abel Ezeneesner being just in Mermack, I think it's you look at our beers and their beers and anyone else's really in the southern New Hampshire area, all the beers are very different. And I think people like different styles. They like to try different styles, and they'll find something they like. And so that's why I think another brewery, no problem. There's there's already, Martha's, as you said, they make a range of beers and around there, so you can go and try their beers, and our brewery's here too. So definitely room for more. Maybe the city will understand kind of how the breweries can come to
Well,
life.
I would hope that's the case. There has to be a learning curve on all sides, and you
Yep.
guys certainly went through a learning curve, and you really pioneered it. And the city went through a learning curve too. So I would hope that the next time a nano brewery or some other business that's somehow similar but maybe not exactly the same would come in, and maybe we could streamline the process from the city standpoint. I want to make sure that, as an alderman, that the city doesn't put up unnecessary barriers to entry. I mentioned a moment ago just about how low that state licensing fee is, $200. It's great, but there were so many other barriers that came into play, and it's my hope that the city learns something too, and that it'll be easier for the next guy who tries.
Yeah, I think if we know some of our brewing friends and from other breweries and just how simple it has been for them to kind of get live as opposed to us, I think there's been quite a disparity there. So
in other communities.
Yeah, so we thought once or twice whether we go down this path here and how long is it going to take. But I think the whole community and everybody that we've worked with here have been very supportive, and that's important. I think they're giving to us, and we're going to give back to them.
Well, the Nashua community, I think the idea of a Nashua community and a Nashua brewery is a great idea. One of the things that I think a city needs as part of its identity is to have a sense of community, have a sense of things being good and local. And if I can go into Riverside Barbecue and have a beer that's made right here in Nashua, I think that's a good thing for the city.
Yeah, and look, not only Riverside, but I hope every bar and restaurant on Main Street you can do the same thing, because that's what we want our beer to be. So the downtown has a real opportunity now, I think, to kind of grow up and cater for the broad community that we have. I mentioned the females liking beer more, and we're seeing that in terms of what's happening in our market. A lot of the millennials, the same thing, and they want to try new beer. They want to do new things, and we can hopefully support that.
Tell us about the, I think you said the Beer and Bacon Festival?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well,
besides the obvious.
Yeah, well, that's drinking beer and eating bacon, right?
All right, let's go.
Yeah, run by High Hopes on the 21st of May in the Millyard Technology Park down by the new Parkway Bridge. So a real good opportunity to sort of support a good charity there and sample beers from a number of the local breweries from South New Hampshire.
And when is that going to be again?
I believe it's the 21st of May, the Saturday there. And it'll be...
One day, yeah.
And it'll be in support of many of the local restaurants here in Nashua also.
I see, that's great. And of course, your opening is coming up on April 9th.
Yep.
That's a week from Saturday.
Yep.
Tell us about the opening. What are you expecting, and what can folks expect if they come down there?
Well, look, I think it's a good opportunity for, we've talked about it for so long now, about opening this brewery. So I think from our point of view, it's just great that we are. And secondly, that, all the friends and people that have been involved in the process, that they get a chance to sample our beers. It seems that spring's well and truly here, so it's an opportunity to buy some growlers and take them home and maybe kickstart your barbecue season, because so we're going to have beers going on, we're going to have barbecues happening down there with Riverside. You'll be able to get tasters, there'll be merchandise, we're selling t-shirts, we've got some beer mugs and all types of things going on, and I believe even a few games for the kids if they're coming down too. So it'll be a good community day out. Hopefully the weather's nice and an enjoyable start to what will be a good business.
That sounds great. Now, I saw an email you sent out with looked like a press release with your logo on it, the MYB.
Yep.
That's your logo.
Yep.
You don't have a sample here,
No.
but I did see it. It looks very cool. I think it's kind of catching. It's almost like my brewery, or
Correct.
Millyard Brewery. It's very, very cool looking.
Yeah, we've got two logos. One, the one that really is more the historic
I've seen that one as well.
Logo, which really takes us back to when the Millyard was operational hundreds of years ago. So really that theme around a bit of the history, and then we've got obviously the modern, more cliche MYB brewery, which is a bit more hip. So
you'll have a sign outside in the door, and everyone's going to know where to go. I drove down there a few weeks ago before I came in for the tour, and I couldn't find the place. It's on Otterson Street, so if you're heading south on Main Street, it's on East Otterson. You turn left
Correct.
Onto
Yep.
East Otterson. and
Same
it's-
same side as Southern New Hampshire Hospital. So,
Okay,
yep, just down there by Pub Granary and Vertical Dreams.
great. Well, thank you very much, Dean, for coming in. Do you have any? We're down to the last couple minutes here. Is there anything else you'd like to add about being in Nashua, or what your experience is? Anything at all about folks coming in?
No, I think if you if you like beer, we've got some good beer. We've put a lot of effort into making good quality beer, and we just hope everyone gets a chance to come down on the 9th and come and try it out. And if not, we'll be open pretty much from noon to 8 on weekends, and then we're open from kind of 4 to 8 weekdays. Monday we're going to have a rest, I think, but every other day we're open.
I like a good hoppy IPA. Am I going to find a good hoppy IPA there?
Yeah,
Or maybe I'm a little more extreme in my taste. I don't know.
Well, we in fact we just we sample our beers quite regularly, as you can understand. But we tried the IPA and the fermenters the other day, and we hopped it up a bit more for you, David. So
Good. Thank
it's
you
going
very
to be
much.
a good hoppy beer.
I appreciate it. Well, Dean, thank you very much for coming in. I wish you the best of luck in the business. I'm glad to hear that Nashua, towards the end of the process, streamlined things a little bit for you. There were a lot of hurdles to cross. I remember hearing the stories kind of from the sidelines, and I hope that for future opportunities, new businesses coming in, it'll be a little more streamlined, and I'm glad that it's worked out for you even after all this time.
Yeah, David, I think is my alderman anyway. Thanks for supporting us and getting this going.
My pleasure. I'm looking forward to trying your beer. I'm sure I'm going to like it.
Great.
Folks, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is David Schoeneman. I'm your host here on Perspectives. We've been talking with Dean Baxter from the Millyard Brewery. Millyard Brewery, a brand new nano brewery right here in Nashua. I hope you check them out. Opening day, April 9th, Saturday, April 9th at their Otterson Street, 25 East Otterson Street location. Thanks again for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach me by email at perspectivesnh@gmail.com. Thanks once again, and we'll see you next time.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.